Oh
my
man.
Yay, we're like
twinning, twailing. Heather we call our twin fails twailing. So we are
not twirling, we finished it. That's
Yeah.
So right before we went live, we were all sharing, well, I finished the book last night and everyone else finished it like 5 minutes ago. So. Oh my goodness. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Diversity is Lit Book Club. You know, whether you finished the book 10 days ago or 10 minutes ago, you know, we are here and we are happy to have you. Jennifer Brown is here and she has a question, but I'm gonna do our little intro and have us introduce ourselves, and then we can get into this, and then we can get into talking about the book. So, I'm not prepared and didn't pull out my book. Ooh, it's heavy. So we are going to be discussing Delicious Monsters by Liselle Sambury, who is also an author tuber, one of the rare Trad Pub author tubers. So really love her being in this space. I'm also currently listening. I bought the physical book, but then I was like so curious about it. So I'm listening to the audiobook of Blood Like Magic while I was reading the physical book, Delicious Monsters. So I was consuming all of the Liselle Sambury. Yeah, so we will be talking all the spoilery goodness of this book. Yes, talk about having a fresh take on the book. Yes, it's fresh in our minds. I love
Very fresh.
So if you don't know me, my name is Holly. You can find me as WriteHollyDavis all over the place. I haven't really been posting as often on social media because things have been kind of crazy with buying a house and trying to get back in the query trenches, which I officially am. So that's been fun. Yay! But yeah, I'm happy to be here and discuss this book. And then all my lovely co-hosts are linked down below. One of them could not make it, Alicia, but everyone else is here. So T, if you want to go next.
Oh, okay, sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Teresa Beasley. I write under the pen name T.A. Beasley. I am a thriller author and podcaster over at A Reader's Book Corner, where I support indie authors and their books with interviews and book discussions. And I am on the socials, all of them as Arthur T.A. Beasley. And I can't wait to discuss this book because I want to see if everybody's opinion is the same as mine. But I think I'm gonna be a lone wolf this time because I don't think I don't think I'm gonna be on page with everybody else this time. So I can't wait.
I don't know.
Also, T, I know you've plugged your like podcast before, but I don't know why I just went like in one ear and out the other for me. But then I had T on my the Storyteller's Hearth weekend relay last Saturday, and she had mentioned it, and so then I checked it out and I was like, oh my god, look at all these interviews. So I started listening to them all on Spotify.
Oh, thank you.
And I was like, oh, these are really good. So yeah, so check it out. It's cool.
Well, I can't wait to have you guys on when your books come out too.
Oh, yay. Thank you. You want to go, Vanessa?
Sure. So I'm Vanessa. Go by Vanessa Marie Books on all my platforms. I am a fantasy, paranormal, and horror writer. I started getting back into writing poetry, so
Ooh.
there's that as well. And diversity reader, indie publisher. And I have if you've been on my channel before, you might have seen my writing diversity interviews. I do have one coming up this Tuesday, if anyone's interested. We're talking about neurodivergent characters again, but also characters with depression. And we'll be touching on homelessness and substance abuse. So
Yes, I saw that when I set the reminder. I'm going to have to watch the replay because I have something on Tuesday, but I saw that and I was like, yes, instantly. Let me know.
Very cool. Hi, everybody. I'm Heather Venkat, also known as Heather Venkat. I have been a little bit MIA on social media, but I'm still pretty strong in the reading world, at least even though my writing is a bit on a hiatus.
Yes, the reading space. And since I started packing stuff, let me show my corner here of books. Well, that's my husband, but past him are most of those are books. And I've just got those 2 small short bookcases. And I'm like, well, when I moved here almost 4 years ago, I didn't have diversity as lit. So now I have at least 36 more books. So and books are so heavy. So I've got so many boxes and books, and like the people that are going to help me move are going to be like, you are crazy. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Sorry. You'll get a good workout, I swear.
When I moved, I had over 20 boxes of books.
Oh, it's so
yes, I can believe it.
I know. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is not okay. So, speaking of books, Jennifer Brown had a really great question to ask us. I pulled up 2 books that I know right now, but she asked, would you care to ask your panel if they know of any books that have main characters in wheelchairs that aren't YA? I'm having trouble locating anything not nonfiction either, which is a great question. So thanks for coming to us. With that question. So the one that Vanessa had shared with all of us and got us into, which I still haven't read yet, shame on me, but is The Chance to Fly. Yeah, I double checked that it's middle grade. So I'm posting the Goodreads link, and then the other one is Air by Monica Rowe. And I actually found this because I believe the author is an occupational therapist, but when I was trying to find people in my community, like the healthcare community, because I'm a physical therapist that wanted to kind of get out of full-time direct patient care. And like I had mentioned, like I answered a post saying like, oh, I want to be an author. I'm working to become a published author, and then someone's like, oh, like someone in this group is an author, like, and I'm like, what? So we connected, and yeah, she wrote this book. This is the best panel I know for that question. Oh, yay, so sweet.
Wonderful.
I thought I saved more.
Is Air adult or middle grade, or
it's middle grade?
Middle grade as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
I don't know any. Let me rephrase it. I don't know any adult ones that I would recommend. I know of one adult one, but not one I would recommend anyway.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Isn't it like really sad? There's we're like, it's like there's 2 that we know of, and then
Yep.
Things need to change. Yeah, I'm just going through the rest of my list here that I saved to Goodreads. But if I do find anything else, or if we find anything else, we will share it with you. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I thought I made a shelf for it on our group in anticipation of Disability Pride Month, but maybe I didn't do that. Okay, well, we've got 2. Hope that helps. Yay, T! Oh, thanks for the support.
Oh, thank you so
Oh goodness. So we will be talking about Delicious Monsters. The content warnings for this book are childhood sexual assault, which is off page. Some details are discussed. Childhood physical abuse, which is corporal punishment, also off page. It is described. Childhood childhood physical abuse as confinement punishment. Childhood neglect, gaslighting, grooming, suicide, off page, and is mentioned. Killing of a goat, which is off page and described. Discussions of fat phobia, body horror / gore, violence, and death. So, it like sounds worse than when you're reading it. It's kind of okay. So I'm curious to what T, since T was saying she has maybe like a hot
I don't know if I don't know if I'm gonna be the only person, but I really didn't care that much about the book.
The whole time, or was it like?
Yeah, and mainly because I could have did without the whole Britney section of the book. Just for me, I don't think that was needed. I was more interested in the house and the Daisy and her mother's relationship and how it pertained to the house. Because if Peter was married to her aunt, why did he leave her the house? So I was more interested in finding out that, and Brittany's parts just kind of took me out of the story. And I sit the book down a lot. And I think that's why it took me so long to finish it. Because I got bored a lot in reading it. Now, it did remind me of a movie that I really, really liked. It's called House of Bones. But I was going into this thinking it was going to be something like Mexican Gothic. As the vibes that I thought it was going to be. But I didn't get that. Yeah. And I'm all about the house being alive and all that, because that's how House of Bones is. And that reminded me of it, but it just did not do it for me. I ended up giving it a 3-star because the whole Britney part just took me out. And I'm sure we're going to discuss more of the stuff that I did like about the book later on. But yeah, just my overview, it just...
Yeah, Jennifer said she hasn't read it yet. No, I'm not sure I would want to, except the fact
No, you should read it. You should read it. It just didn't work for me. I'll just say, because I'm just speaking for me, it just didn't work for me.
Yeah, I think it helped, like, if a lot of the things that were off page, like, were on page, that it may have been a little bit more difficult.
It might have been a little bit better. And if she would have just deleted Brittany's section.
I actually didn't like have that thought until closer to the end of the book, when I was like, you know what, like, because whenever I was taking notes, like, sure, I had a little bit with like Brittany, but it was mostly with like Daisy, and I felt like I was more engaged with that. So I came to that realization like later on, but I was just like, you know what, I didn't really feel like it added too much, because we still found out a lot of the mysteries like through Daisy finding things out. And so like so when Brittany was finding things out, a lot of times it was like, well, we already kind of know that because we're getting it revealed in the past, whereas she's finding out in the present. So it was kind of just like,
right.
It was a little bit harder for me. I kind of agree with that. And I didn't rate this yet because I was wanting to make sure that I rate it fairly, and I needed to like have this discussion and maybe like step away from it a little bit, because I read like 130 pages of it like right away. Like I read like every day for like the first week, and then with like house hunting and everything, I fell behind. And then the next week I fell behind. So then like this past week I was trying to catch up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like how did I fall behind? Like, and I was really enjoying the book. But so then I was like, I don't think I'm going to finish this if I physically read it, because it was, for some reason, it was hard for me to just like dive back into. So then I actually switched to the audiobook, and that was a lot better for me to consume. But so like my struggle is that like this was just a really busy month for me. So I don't know if I can fairly like rate it, just because I had the time crunch of needing to read it before the discussion. Whereas if I could have taken it at my own pace, maybe then I wouldn't have felt as like flustered. But like if I had to rate it right now, I'd probably rate it a 4, because I really did enjoy the Daisy parts. I did like all of the air of mystery and the whole revelation at the end, which was like gut wrenching, like, oh my gosh, like with Ivy, it was just like, and then like the whole dynamics with Daisy and her mom. And I could see like Liselle trying to have Brittany find those parallels with Brittany and her mom. And so she's trying to find out the mystery and find those connections, but there was still like a little bit of a disconnect for me. But yeah, so I'm somewhere in that rating, but I did enjoy it, and it just was a weird time for me to read it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I was like, Vanessa is like,
looks like she's ready to say something.
No, actually, I want to hear Heather before I say.
Okay, good. So similar to Holly, I started off reading it physically, fell behind, and ended up finishing it as I read probably 3/4 of it as the audiobook, which I felt like I wasn't as into it as I was when I was reading it, which I'm not sure if that was because of the shift in how I was reading it, or if it was the shift in what was happening in the story. But I did feel like once I started listening to the audiobook, the Brittany and Daisy switches were just a little bit, it was just kind of too much. And I was like, yes, they would say who it was at the beginning of the chapter, but then I was like, okay, wait, who is that? Like, what's happening? Who is this? And then I was almost getting a little bit confused at times. I did enjoy it, but I haven't rated it yet. And it wasn't like a, oh my God, I love this book type of feeling, but that might have been because I was listening to it on 1.5x with the audiobook. So that's like a little bit faster than I normally like to listen to it at. So kind of like Holly, like it might have been a little bit rushed. That being said, I've done that for some other books that we've read in the past, and that hasn't really changed my feeling on them. So I think it was maybe just this book. There were maybe parts of it that I don't know if it just was different than what I was expecting or what, but there was something about it that like just like kind of held me back.
For me, I don't know if maybe I went in with too high of an expectation. I loved her Blood Like Magic book, and this is horror, and I love horror. I didn't like this as much as I would have hoped. I finished it, like we said, 5 minutes before we started the live stream. So I still am thinking on my rating, and maybe I'll have a more solid idea after we finish discussing it. But as of right now, I'm kind of sitting at a 3.5 with this. And actually, well, first off, you guys know I listened to the audio while reading the book. Although there were some parts where I just had the audio and not the book. But I think for me, and this is where it's interesting, where it's different from you guys, a complete opposite. I preferred Brittany's parts to Daisy's. I was bored with Daisy a lot in the beginning. I got into her parts more towards the end, but you know, the majority of the book is her chapters, and I just kept thinking, can we get through this already?
You had to be the opposite.
I don't know what it was about Daisy's character, but I didn't really care to be in her head so much. And I thought it would have been way more interesting if, like, I know we would find things out in Daisy's chapter, and then it gets brought up in Brittany's. But I thought it would have been more interesting if this whole thing was just Brittany and her friend, and then solving through this investigation to figure out what happened and solve it, and not have Daisy's chapters at all, and just having them piece together the mystery of what happened here.
I wrote that in my notes. I agree, Vanessa. I wrote that in my notes.
Yeah, I would have made that so much better. Because, like I said, I don't know what it is, but just I got bored a lot with Daisy's chapters.
When with the board part, like I was thinking about when Heather was talking, I was like, you know, it was kind of slow at the beginning too. And I took a lot of notes at the beginning and less at the end, because I was like, I don't know what's important. And so I was taking so many notes at the beginning, like pages, and then like barely any at the end, because I was like, oh, okay, like I just, you know, need to read this and like speed things up. But like I just was taking so many notes because I was like, I don't know what's important. And so I think that kind of made me stumble a little bit too. But yeah, I didn't even think about like maybe having Brittany's or even just like maybe sprinkles of some flashbacks from Daisy's point of view of things that like she wouldn't have known, like, you know, when she first met, you know, King or Ivy, you know, so just like some things that like it couldn't have even been revealed in Brittany's like sleuthing.
Like I could see that like maybe she wanted to show how different things are like when people are being interviewed based like versus what really happened, but it just, I don't know, it just was not, I wasn't digging the dual POV there.
I think it was supposed to be like kind of paralleling both of their experience, this mother-daughter dynamic. We see Brittany, how she is with her mom, and there's never that reconciliation, whereas with Daisy there is. And we kind of see the dynamic between their relationship and how, you know, how bad it was and how it got there. And then we kind of saw a full circle of them reconciling towards the end. Whereas, you know, with Brittany, we it touches on that, and you see the same sort of toxicity, not but not resolved, or she kind of just cuts off her mom towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the reason why I liked Daisy's POV was because of that. Like, there was that push and pull with like her dynamic with her mom, but then also with her dad, like the way she would, she's like, well, why is he telling me to leave? And he's not, and then just hanging up and then putting him, so that he blocking him. And so it was like, there was this interest, like what's going on with that. And then I really got like, it's not like I could relate to her character, but I like felt for her character and was invested in her as a person, because she had this like horrible curse of being able to see, dead people, and then everything going on with was it Noah at the beginning, and then having to leave her friends and go to this place that was scary, and her mom's not telling her why she can't go inside. And so it was like there were all, and she's like, well, what's going on with my aunt? Like there's all these things I don't know. So like I was really like oh god, like I want to find all these things out too with Daisy. So like I think all of that really drew me into her character. And then part of me was also like, well, is she like, where is she? Is she going to be morally gray? Is she the hero or the villain? Like, is she the one killing people at the Airbnb? And then obviously we find out it was the house. But like, so it was just like, just wanting to know, like, can I trust her? Like, who is she? So that's what really made me invested in her side of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And then with Ivy, the other girl there, I immediately knew. I was like, okay, she's probably dead, and at some point, she is gonna try to possess Daisy to get what she wants.
I had no idea.
I was like, yeah, I bet you she's dead, because when she meets the family that's behind the house, oh, what's their name? Okiki or something like that. And she meets King and all them, and she gets a glimpse of Ivy. He looks at her, and I was like, okay, he saw her too, because if Daisy saw her, then he's supposed to be psychic, so I bet you he saw her too. But the mom, I can't remember who was standing there. His mom, someone else was standing there too, but they didn't say anything about her. And I'm like, okay, these two people saw her, but the other lady that's standing there did not see her. So I'm like, okay. And then she only appeared at certain times to Daisy. And after the whole bird thing and the thorns and stuff, I was like, yeah, I bet you Ivy is dead. And she's trying to get her to the house so that she could possess her and take over for some reason. Yeah. Yeah, I was like, yeah. I wrote that in my notes. I was like, I bet you Ivy's dead. I bet you she's one of the dead people that's around that house. And it was like some of the things that she was saying when Daisy was asking her questions, and I'm like, okay, how does she know all this? She never said that she lived close by, or she never said none of that. So I was like, yeah, she's probably one of the dead people that's in the house too.
But I'm sure you were surprised of who Ivy was.
Yes.
Ended up being.
Did not expect. Is it?
I did not expect.
Dion?
Yes, I did not expect that part.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah. I didn't.
That was heartbreaking.
Yeah, not.
Yes.
So I wasn't surprised that Ivy was dead, but who they revealed her to be at the end. That's why I said towards the end I was getting more into Daisy's chapters, because then I was like, what? Okay, what happened? So yeah, and then I wanted so bad to like kind of smack Dion
Yeah.
When we did the interview where she's like, she knew about Ivy, she had met her, and then just left her with Peter. Like,
Mhm.
I don't care what Peter said. You should have called the police right then and there.
Right. And all she
Right.
did was ask Ivy, like, oh, he didn't touch you, or what did she ask her? Like, you know,
Yeah.
just to, but she's like, but she didn't know for sure, you know, and
Mhm.
so she doomed her to that,
She failed.
her daughter.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
And
Yep.
he didn't touch her yet. That didn't mean he wouldn't have.
exactly.
He wasn't going. Yeah.
I
That-
was
that-
a little. Oh, go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say that's what got me so mad was that she like was turning a blind eye to it. Like, oh well, Peter's been teaching, having 3 piano lessons with girls every day, and she just kind of like brushed it away and didn't want to think that was happening. And it was like you coward essentially.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, I was a little suspicious in the beginning when they said that she had turned down the house, and I'm like, well, why? Like they didn't say why, and I'm like, most people would say yes even if they didn't want it, and then they would just sell it or something like that. So I was like, did something happen? Is she? But you know, I wasn't really like suspicious that she was going to be that much involved in kind of the things that were happening in the mansion until the end. But like when I first saw that, I was like, it was just kind of this thought that I had written down. I was like, that's weird. But then
that's weird. Be like, I don't want anything to do with these murders and people coming up to the house and being like,
right.
oh, did you this and this and this? Like, she just like didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Like just like the mom was saying Grace was saying not to go in the house, and just like the dad was saying leave that place. I could see how it would just spook Dion to not even want to be anywhere near it. So
right.
But I think the parts that I really liked were when they were in the house, and then all of those creepy, like I could picture that
things were happening.
Creepy Peter in the room, and then Ivy, and like the maggots. Oh God,
that was like so creepy.
I feel like Liselle wrote those scenes really, really well. They were really creepy, and it's like there's a lot of times where it's like when you're listening to it, you're like, okay, I can like suspend disbelief or like distance myself from it, as opposed to like if you're watching it, you know, in the dark, in, you know, a movie or something like in the dark. But like I was like, oh, this is creepy crawly, like, ooh. So it kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies. So she did her job there for sure. And even just like then like the parts at the end with like Ivy being found in the ice chest, and like the firefighters had to break her out, and it was like even that's like creepy because it's like something that like actually happens in real life. So so yeah, I feel like those, and then the butcher birds, like just there were so many little elements of the creepiness that I think that that she did well.
Yeah, I did really get into the scenes where you know, Ivy had taken Daisy over, and like her mom was just like kept writing letters to her, and she was like, hey, you know, I want my daughter and all this stuff, and like that was pretty gut-wrenching, but it was still hard for me to, I don't know why, like it was still hard for me to like kind of like the mom, because there were just so many issues, and it's like, okay, well,
Grace,
like
the mom,
yeah,
okay, yeah, no, because she was like lying to like she was keeping so much from Daisy, and then like not letting her, like she, you know, had her born in the like so that on purpose, so that she could gain the powers. That's what Daisy ended up finding out, and was like, "You did this on purpose. Why?" So,
so are we getting into the end with all the fuckery that happened?
Sabotage her sister. Like,
let's just jump right into that.
The end. That's why I said I got sucked in at that part. With all the reveals with the mom, and like, I mean, I knew from the beginning, I knew she was being abused by Peter, but I didn't see her like making this deal with the house to have the baby, and then when she tried to change her mind, she sabotaged her sister, so her sister would have the baby and the house would have that baby, and all that like family drama right there. And when they were in the interview talking about why they hadn't spoken to each other, and Jan was saying she doesn't hate her, and Grace was asking to why have you never talked to me? She admitted to being ashamed for not doing anything, which I understand. But I also, at that moment, I was also thinking she didn't talk to her because maybe she somehow knew that Grace was the one that sabotaged her birth control to make her give birth. I was thinking she somehow knew and found out, and that's why she didn't talk to her. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. That could be. Because I was shocked that he left her the house. I was like, if he was married to Dion, why would he leave her sister this big old mansion unless he did something wrong?
Yeah.
I had that in my notes too. Yeah, I was like, okay, you just bypass your wife to give her sister this mansion and all this money and stuff. So you had to have done something wrong at some point, and you felt guilty, and that's why you did it. And then she made Daisy choose if they were going to live there or not, because Grace knew what was going to go on. That was weird to me, because she was like, no, you choose. Do we go or do we not go? And she wanted to get away from everything anyway, Noah and all that stuff going on. So she was like, yeah, we're going to go. So she made Daisy choose to go to this mansion when she know all the stuff that was going on at the mansion. She knew that. That's why she kept wanting her not to go into the house. You're telling a kid not to go into a place that you're like it's forbidden. What do you think the kid's gonna do? They're gonna go into the place that you told them not to go into.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll just live next door. It'll
I'm
be
like,
fine.
I'm gonna keep looking at this place, and you keep telling me I can't go into it. Okay, at some point I'm gonna wait, and then I'm gonna go into that place that you told me not to go into. So I was like, you set her up to go in there, and then she's got Ivy over here talking to her. I'm like, of course she's gonna go in there, and all hell's gonna break loose because you told her not to go into the house.
Well,
and I'm like,
sorry, you go.
So I'm thinking that when she went into the house, I was thinking that maybe that's what woke the house up again, because it was dormant since, Grace had moved them away. So I'm thinking Ivy was trying to get her to go into the house, because once she got into the house and the house knew she was back, that they were back, that maybe that's the reason why the house came back to life again and was not dormant and was wanting the live sacrifices.
Right. Oh shoot, what was I going to say about what had confused me about Grace was that, like, she actually had money, and she was like pretending to just be this, poor single mother. And she really had like a good education and all this money and stuff. And so it was like, it's like, you don't need to open up the Airbnb at the murder mansion again,
Right.
All of that was to manipulate and abuse Daisy. She parentified Daisy and
Mhm.
Yeah.
sort of made her responsible for taking care of Grace for her. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's true.
if
True.
Daisy knew that they had all this money, she wouldn't have felt the need or obligation to
To
you know,
stay.
stay with her and help her with everything. And we saw that she was saying she saw the house. If they did the house at the Airbnb and it was successful, she saw it as her way of escaping Grace and finally leaving.
Mhm.
So she used all of that to manipulate her to keep her close.
Yeah. Ugh.
Ugh.
And that's sometimes scarier than the like worms, you know? Like
Yeah.
it's like I mean there's a lot of like stuff that Liselle put in here that you know is kind of shows like the scary side of the just normal people because it's like when I first started reading it I was like, oh my gosh, she can see dead people, like this is going to be really creepy, but almost like the real people were obviously like worse than
Worse.
the dead
Mhm.
people,
Mm-hmm.
but like because there was one quote that I wrote down that's like people love the trauma, they adore a chance to tell a Black woman how strong she is. She just like threw in these little things that's like like the fat phobia stuff, that like just
Mhm.
pieces of like things that we're going through on a daily basis or that's going on in current times that we all have, or some of us have to deal with,
Mm-hmm.
that I did see that connection, like those were things that like did draw me in because it made it feel more real. It's not like everything was all hunky-dory outside of their regular relationships or anything like that.
Yeah, because it was like Brittany and Jaden's show, like the company was making them change the series from like the Forgotten Black Girls to haunted houses or something like
That kill or
houses that
something.
kill or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, no, like this won't get as many views, blah blah blah. So yeah, I could see that how they like throw in those things that make it kind of relevant. And maybe that was why like with the dual POV, it's like there's these things with the supernatural element, but then there's these issues in real life too.
Yeah.
So Brittany's mom in the book, was Brittany's mom Hayden?
Brittany, what?
Brittany's mom, was she Hayden? Because that Brittany's chapters like really confused me because she was talking about this relationship with her mom, and her mom wrote a book about her experience at the mansion, and she was talking to her mom talking about this book because, and then Grace and them were saying that it was a bunch of lies anyway. But
Oh, that's right.
so I was thinking that Hayden was Brittany's mom because Hayden is the one that was attacked at the house.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
She was attacked at the house and survived. It wasn't Hayden supposed to be in cousin to Peter,
Oh.
and that's why Brittany was so interested in the house.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I was reading her chapters. Because
I
one of
didn't
his
make that connection, but that's
because
probably
Oh yeah. Brittany doesn't.
because Grace had the cameras and stuff there and was doing the tour, and I guess
Yes.
Hayden was part of that. And I think she was Peter's cousin, if I'm correct. I think she was Peter's cousin, and she got attacked in the house.
Yeah, I have her mom changed after the last minute getaway 10 years ago when the house first opened. So but I think I don't have much about that afterwards. Like, I don't think I wrote down like the resolution of that.
Yeah. Because like later when everything started being revealed, one of Brittany's chapters, she was talking about her mom always talked about the house and she had wrote a book about it. It was around the time they were talking about changing she was upset because they wanted to change the show.
Mm-hmm.
And she had talked to her mom, I think, on the phone. And I was like, okay, is Hayden, since Hayden was the one that was attacked in the house and got away, she would be the only one I would think that would be writing a book about it. So she must be Brittany's mom. Because that's Brittany's connection to the house.
Oh.
I didn't even remember.
I didn't catch that.
Me either.
No, that was good.
Yeah.
So I wonder what changed her about that. Like, was she there when the person ended up, the teen ended up dying from the brain aneurysm, but then they thought like there was a murder or something like that? Like, was that maybe the day that
I'm trying to remember what chapter that was.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe.
Let me see.
Because she was talking to Jaden about it. She was like, taught her mom, talking about this book. And I think when she interviewed Grace or Dion, one of them, they were saying she's full of, trying to remember what chapter it was in. And I was like, wait a minute, so is she Brittany's mom? Because Brittany's mom is somebody that came to the mansion and stayed in the mansion and was attacked.
Right.
I'm like,
She wasn't the one that. Now I'm getting everyone confused. She wasn't the first one, right? With the guy, the couple.
no, I don't think it was her.
I have to go back and see.
I'm gonna have to find the chapter because
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to find the chapter that I was reading that it. I mean, I could have misread it, but I was thinking that Hayden was her mom.
No, I feel like we should. Yeah, there should have been some sort of like.
Because I was like, yeah, what is the connection of Brittany being connected to want to learn about this mansion?
Right.
And I think it was because of her.
Well,
I think it was because of her mom.
Her mom stayed there. Her mom stayed there and had like this miracle experience and wrote a book about it. But I don't remember what. They just said she had some kind of experience at the house that changed her life. And she started writing about it and turned everything around. So I think that's why she wanted to investigate the house.
The house.
Because of her mom, her mom's book that she wrote about her experience.
Or was her mom one of the people that went to the house and because you know how I was saying that they would come to the house and they wouldn't remember what happened
that's
afterwards, but they would be like changed.
Yeah.
And they would act different.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
I
right.
thought her mom was one of them.
So okay, so maybe her mom was one of them.
Oh.
Because I think didn't at the end they said or maybe I'm thinking of someone else again, I don't know. But I thought they said that she had gave something up.
Yeah.
Like,
because you have to give the house something.
Yeah. So,
And that's the thing, it never says what they give up.
No, it doesn't say what they give up.
I wanted to know what they gave up.
Yeah.
Like,
that would
what
be
did they
good
give
to
up? You keep saying they're giving something and they're being able to leave the house and they don't remember what, but what are they giving up? She never says. You never know that, which would have been nice to know.
Maybe memories. I mean, the house is full of memories.
Full of memories, yeah.
Because like Daisy, when she, the first when she first saw Peter, then she saw her mom, you know,
Oh,
younger.
that's true.
And then Dion, and then Ivy's asking, like, you know, who is she? Who is she? And she's like, I'm not gonna tell her. So
Mhm.
that could be.
Yeah.
Well, I was ready for them to take Ivy down after a while.
I just had the
I was like, I'm tired of Ivy now. She's doing a little bit too much.
Yes, I saw the part where Ivy says, like, the house is saving Daisy for dessert. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, I am so fed up with this look.
and then, and the other quote I had was, or where the mom was like, you can never clear your mind, otherwise you'll let something else in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was creepy.
Yeah. And that's why she was putting like the goat stuff in her ear, like the
Yes.
magnet thingy in her ear that would block her. Because King kept saying that he couldn't read her. And that was why, because that thing was in her ear.
Oh, that's right.
That was just so dangerous.
Yeah. And then King, I didn't understand his character either, because you're a psychic, but you would never like share anything. He would beat around the bush about stuff, but he would never share anything. I'm like, well, then why are you the psychic in the book?
Well, I thought he did that because we found out later Ivy was possessing Daisy.
Oh, that's true. That is true, because she was having her leave the house and go, and he probably didn't want to say anything because then it would trigger Ivy. Ivy would know.
Oh, that's right. He couldn't.
That's a good point.
He couldn't
Yeah.
reveal that he was.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Suspicious. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah, that would make sense. That would make sense.
I thought he was an interesting character. You know, it was like there were well, in the beginning they kind of talked about what was her friend's name, Megan. And she didn't really come back. I thought, oh, maybe she was I felt like at first when she was introduced, I thought she was maybe gonna play a little bit of a bigger role, and then she didn't. But there was, who else was I thinking about? And Noah. I just wanted to punch Noah.
Oh yeah,
he was such a jerk. He's like, oh yeah, she's stalking me and doing this, and it's like, dude, come on, like you're not telling the whole truth. And then that's what like
we were never dating,
right?
He's just like slandering her on social media, and it's like, come on, like that's what's realistic about it, at least, is that like the half truths. It's like, yeah, that's pretty much real life. Like people do stuff like that.
Yeah,
all the time.
Yeah, I wanted to punch him too.
Yeah.
I could have punched a lot of people on this.
Yeah, there were a lot of very punchable.
I know, right?
Very punchable people.
Grace, Dion, Noah.
Ooh, one of the lines that stood out to me was on page 149 when Ivy and Daisy were talking, and I'm trying to think of the context of this line. I see the color. She tugged the orange hat off her head and pulled it onto mine. There. Now you won't get murdered. Not by accident, anyway. I expected her to smile, but she didn't. Like, I would have been like, get away from me. Like, take your hat and get away. Like, what do you mean not by accident, anyway? Like,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it was an interesting book.
I like the end, how she kind of wrapped up like what everyone was doing. You know, Daisy going to the mental facility, King being a life coach. yeah, so like I just kind of liked that there was some resolution, like, you know, Brittany and Jaden had their new show and was doing true crime and social justice and everything. So I liked how she tied that up so we could have some closure, and know that they had a like happily ever after it, you know.
I will say it's I was surprised that Daisy survived in the end.
Yeah.
Yes. And she was the letter writer.
Yeah, she was the contactor.
Yeah.
But yeah, that surprised me because I was like, I didn't think Ivy would let her go. Well, one, I didn't think she would have changed her mind either after King and her mom left. Which, again, another reason why I'm like pissed that her mom is like, you're really gonna let your daughter do this? You're not gonna fight for her, fight harder? So, but yeah, that did surprise me towards the end. But I'm glad she did survive, and also that she was able to do all of this so that Ivy wouldn't be forgotten.
Yes.
And Ivy would, you know, people would know who she is.
Yeah, because that's why Ivy let her go, so that she had a chance at, she could have another chance at living. So probably felt like this is the least that I owe to let her story be known, and you know.
Sad.
Yeah, that was
really
kind of
sad.
bittersweet.
Yeah, bittersweet.
I was gonna say I wrote down on page 39 because this part made me think, wow, this is and this shows how good of a writer Liselle is. But it says on the top, the same stillness came over Mom's face. I couldn't tell what it meant because I hadn't ever seen that look before. Talking about Aunt Dion made her normally pouty lips form a thin, hard line. Speaking about Grandma sent her eyes into fits of rolling everywhere possible. Chatting about work made her shoulders hunch. This complete stillness was new. And I thought that was such a great of her mom's character, like how she reacts to certain people in life. And I think that's something that a lot of times as writers we can forget and overmiss, is just those little those details. Yeah. That make them feel like real people.
True.
I really liked that line, that part.
I like that.
Yeah. And I will say, you know, even though I was it wasn't quite what I was expecting, and even though I was bored for a lot of parts, the writing is still really strong.
Yeah.
It was really strong. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I do like her writing.
I did think that was strong for sure.
I also thought at the very end, where she says, I think it's like the very last page. Yep. She says, there's a rumor about a mansion that sits along Kanagasmasi Lake. It's passed from local lips and shuddered whispers and traded between cottages like campfire s'mores. It says that deep within the bush, past the imposing manor, the house that houses giggling toys and a dark history. And beyond the fields where electric lines hum, there is a spot. Never if you search for it, but somehow always there. A glass house with a girl inside, with hair long enough to reach your feet. The white of her bones glistening in the summer sunshine and sparkles amid the winter snow. And then it goes on, but and then at the bottom it says, "Here lies Ivy Odlin." For him again. So I realized then when she was talking about the house where they were at, but before this, she had mentioned how she was thinking that there were more places out there like their house and more people like her, like Daisy and Ivy. And so I was like, is this like a hint that maybe there'll be another book with another
Another, yeah.
Whoa.
True. That'd be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, I would be up for another one, depending on how that one goes.
Right.
Yeah, how it's written.
I would too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, I feel better about it more since we've discussed it.
Yeah,
so.
And I was gonna say, like, even ones that like we're on the fence with, or have some, some things that we didn't quite like we always still have good discussions about them. So
sure, always.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for watching. If you have more that you want to talk about, you can leave it in the comments if you're watching the replay, or over on our Goodreads, the thread in our forum for Delicious Monsters. We can chat about all the spookiness, and we are continuing our spookiness, but with a little bit more lightheartedness for April, as we read Sarah Boateng's Guide to Vampire Hunting.
Oh, yes.
Roseanne Brown, which I started, and I'm loving the voice so far. So looking forward to reading more and hopefully not falling behind this month. But
How
yeah,
many pages is that one?
This one is
I think it's 3 something.
374.
Oh, that.
So it's like
yeah.
12 and a half pages a day. Yeah. So, and then like the first weekend of April is like, there'll be the first week of May, and then the weekend. So it's like, technically you'll have an extra week too. Just throwing it out there. Anyway, so. But yeah, join us for the Priordan Presents book. And yeah, thank you for joining for our discussion, and we will see you next month. Bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye.